Welcome to the KR Films Entertainment channel. Today we'll be talking about a fantasy action film called Journey to the Worst, Conquering the Demons. Be ready for some spoilers ahead. A long time ago in the fishing village of China, a little girl is playing on the edges of a lake while her father prepares to start the day's work. Seeing that the girl is upset that her old man is leaving again, he goes into the water and begins playing around, turning her tears into smiles again. Suddenly the man begins convulsing chaotically inside a lake, and eventually gets dragged around through the water by something from below. The girl continues to laugh, not realizing that her father is in danger, until the man disappears, leaving only blood inside the water. The villagers quickly hire a demon hunter who begins chanting and throwing bombs inside the lake, causing a large explosion inside the water as everyone looks in the maze. And they're able to capture a giant stingray, and 100 claims that this creature was possessed by a demon, was responsible for killing the man from earlier. The people are extremely thankful that the monster is caught by a person inside. The crowd tells them that the fish is not a demon, only a common stingray. Apparently the man's name is Tank, who's also a demon hunter, and amongst apprentice the other demon hunter hears this and quickly accuses Tang as being an accomplice with the demon, causing the villagers to attack them, and furious they eventually tying him up. As punishments, everyone begins jumping into the water, believing that save what time watches hopelessly at the people. Their celebration is quickly an it. When a woman gets or by a giant beast, as everyone looks, it does believe that people became rushing back to shore, believing that they're safe as long as they're out of the water, but they're quickly proven wrong as the monster grasps the villagers, using a tone. The little girl from before tries to run towards her mother, but the creature takes the chance and grabs onto the child, trying to drag her into the water. The villagers want to help the little girl and cut off the monstrous time while catching her on the edge of the bridge, but the creature jumps up and takes to go inside his mouth. The mother becomes furious and jumps down into the lake, trying desperately to save her daughter, or Time begins using his teeth to free himself on the ropes. She's paralyzed with fear when she sees the giant. After appearing from the water, trembling with anger as the stares at the woman, she begs the creature to return her child, but the demon only responds by devouring her as well. The monster breaks the buildings nearby, causing other people to lose their balance. By baby slides towards the lake away from his mother. Luckily Ten is able to break free and jumps down here the pathway. We are making the baby slide towards him. Instead he wraps the infant as the giant creature launches towards him, but Ten manages to escape in time and traps the monster on the platform, using the creature's way to jump towards the people. Tank gifts the child back to his mother, but only sees that the fake demon hunter is hiding like a coward. An enormous girl rises from the crowd, causing earthquakes with every step she takes, and jumps down towards the monster. The massive woman lands on the platform, as says the creature, flying into the air, landing right on top of the fake demon hunter. Before he can escape, the creature begins transforming back slowly, eventually turning into a young man who appears to be harmless. The village sisters and tries to kill the demon. A test stop the violence and offers a better way to. The man takes out a bunch of instruments and then a book that's called a 300 nursery rhymes, preparing to unleash his musical talents in order to change the monster from evil to good. Ten began singing horrific, which confuses the demon and the audience at the same time. The man's lyrics and performance were so bad that drives the creature into madness, as the demon begins beating on the men furiously and smashing everything around. Before Ten is killed, a woman grabs the demon and begins beating on the creature, eventually sealing the monster into a magical cloth and turning it into a doll. It turns out that the woman's name is Zhang Wen, and she's one of the demon hunters as well. But when Tanks shows her the tools that he used to conquer the monsters, the woman laughs at him hysterically, where all the villagers thank her for being there from severe. Ten is upset at the failure, but his master tells him that it's never easy to change evil into goodness. He tells the monk that there's a second team and that he must conquer, who lives in a nearby restaurant and uses humor such as cookie materials and night. Ten arrives at the demon's restaurant and enters the building, only to see it's full of people who are enjoying their meals. He's greeted by a woman who begins to show him around, but Ten is able to see through the illusions right away and tells her to show her true form. The demon charges that turn as he runs in fear, but he saved when one shows up and punches the woman repeatedly, eventually turning her into dust. She be attacking everyone in the restaurant, breaking the demon support one by one using her rings. The woman shouts for the boss to come out, as a young man thinks behind her, but do encounters immediately and begins finding that demon as the exchange. Furious attacks the will. Armin is able to gain the advantage and punches the men across the room. She does some as numerous rings and begins find them at the demon mean purposely at the best face, eventually breaking his skin and revealing the snow of a pig. The demon begins blocking all her attacks using the rig and closing the distance towards the woman he swings at her, furiously forcing The woman to defend herself by is able to strike into her flesh while she escapes right before impact and jumps behind the creature and because kicking him forcing the monster to reveal his true form which turns out to be a demon pig. She lost the creature's arms and prevents him from moving or shouting for Ten to come and help. One has locked the demon's essence inside his throat rods and requires Ten to suck it up from the pig. The man tries to conjure up enough courage to complete the task but finds it extremely difficult after looking at the master's hideous face. Luckily can force by accident in this madness and kisses the pig sucking the demon inside his mouth. I quickly takes the essence from the man and puts it inside her bag of sealing. However, the demon is too powerful to be contained and begins to grow larger, eventually breaking free and showing its monstrous from the two. Quickly runs away as the entire building crashing down. They are able to escape. The demon is the right beside a lake to forced down from the pain of her injuries and proceeds to demonstrate her female assets right in front of the main character. The lucky man gets even luckier when she tells him to put pressure on her wounds and stop the bleeding, which Tell was able to do at the cost of bleeding himself, but it doesn't seem like he minds very much when one closes her eyes and listens for a kiss. The man suddenly realized is that he's a monk and run away from the woman immediately, most likely not wanting to pay for any Chow supporting the future. The next day Teng goes back to his master telling the old man that he felt once again. The master tells the young man dying what to conquer the pig monster. You must go to the king of all demons for help. Apparently this powerful entity is no less Will Khan, was locked up 500 years ago under a grey mountain by the girls for causing havoc in the heavens and Night's Watch. Lovely inside the forest, Time runs into a trap set by a group of people who appears to be extremely hostile. By it turns out that they're all working for Tu, and as she plans to force the monk to marry her no matter what. However, Ten refuses, claiming that he can't love her as the monk's codec taste. He can have romantic feelings for a single person. In a fit of rage, Tu unlocks the men inside her. President was thinking about what to do next. Her sister tries to convince her to be more feminine, use her dancing to attract the men, but after seeing her terrifying moves, the woman puts a talisman on drone and plays to control her movements while seducing the monk. Dwayne goes to the monk as planned, for things quickly go wrong as the charm begins to malfunction, causing the woman to strike the main character repeatedly until the charm accidentally flies onto the men. The woman runs out of the room and killed. By at the same time the sister begins dancing, causing Ten to shake his body exactly like her in front of the guards who rushed in the men's sea amongst ridiculous moves and proceeds to beat him up once again, only stopping when the sister runs inside after realizing that something's wrong. Their funniest cut short when they see that the pig demon has arrived and the group quickly goes under vehicle and tries to run desperately for their lives. However, the pig is able to catch up and charges directly at the group. One season his and pushes the monk off the car before the team and crashes into the groove and breaking everything apart. Luckily no one got hurt in the crash, but they're quickly cornered by the demon as it plans to take vengeance on their guild leader for their previous battle. Suddenly a man with a tiger's aura charges towards the monster and begins to overpower it, tossing the creature in the air and landing a devastating kurag, forcing the demon to run. It turns out that the man is also a demon hunter and he's accompanied by the mighty Foot alongside Prince Important and his for beautiful. Then he's throwing flowers all the time. However, his servants are terrible at following orders and embarrass him continuously by calling him Prince Important. They 3 begins fighting for the right to take down two pig demon, which really angers Train, claiming that they are only doing this for money and vanity, not worthy of being a true demon hunter. The Mumtaz want to give him back the nursery rhymes that she took and begins yelling at her for wasting his time. This causes the woman to become furious as rips the book into pieces at throwing it into the air. She begins hitting Ten with anger and tells him that he's nothing without her, as you would have been killed a long time ago. Ten gets up in silence and sees that one is trying to flirt with the prince in order to make him jealous, but begins walking away as the girl looks at him in sadness. After traveling for a long time through the country, Ken eventually arrives on a mountain where its cover lily pads. Despite the absence of water, he sees a large lily flower grow through for what appears to be a hole and proceeds to jump in, only to find a crazy looking man who hugs and kisses him repeatedly. Time realizes that this must be Wilcon interest to ask him for help in the feeding the picked demon, but the man is only interested in leaving this place and trust that really to trick the monkey to removing the seal, claiming that is capable of capturing the master. However, Ten does not fall for the petty tricks, causing Vikant. He tried to escape in frustration for the roots in the cave trust the demon inside and begins whipping him for disobedience. Ten begins to feel sorry for the man and offers him a banana, which softens that the misdemeanor The telling the monk how to defeat the pig monster because the pig demon used to love his watch tremendously. They need to get a beautiful woman to dance under the moonlight which will attract a master towards the cave, allowing Wukong trapped inside as wo. Suddenly Glenn jumps into the cave after hearing about their plan and offers to be the paid for the pig demon. Ten sees the womb and tells her to get out. That Wukong begins flirting with her as he teaches her to dance. It's very obvious that the much really does love the woman as he feels great discomfort at the sight of their affection that display at night when begins dancing below the moonlight as the monk plays the music for her. The man watches the woman say falls deeper in love with every move that she makes. Suddenly they hear a monstrous roar and sees that the picked demon has arrived. Wukong because talking with the creature from inside the cave, causing the most to peek under the lilies only to be sucked and completely by the sealing of the gods too, and turns to pick demon into a all and gifts or to turn, allowing him to control the face of the demons that she captured. She puts a ring on them. Monk and tells him that his permanence is she plans to marry him. A10 becomes extremely upset and rather cut off his own finger. Them be in a relationship with her sees this and takes up the ring herself and tries to give back to nursery rhyme that she grew back together, but the monk refuses the booking. Anger the woman sees them as conviction and lives in tears, coming seem to not follow him anymore in the future. Tam walks off in the cave and looks towards the my sadness, suffering from the paying off his true feelings. He hears of asking for a favor to remove the lily flower which blocks the entrance as he wants to enjoy the moonlights as well. The monk cuts off the flower but immediately notices something wrong as all the lilies are consumed in flames. Wukong lasts maniacal inside the cave before finally breaking free in the ball fire. The last directly in front of the monk. He grabs the men and tosses him away like a ragdoll before catching them again under the mountain, marking the man for being so easily tricked. To a least the demon king can cast a monkey demon that he hasn't escaped as the Buddha as. Watching everything even at this moment in a fit of rage, Wukong begins ripping off the monk's hair violently, eventually leaving nothing behind. By is furious that the misbelief is still intact. Suddenly the demon feels a process behind and sees that the three demon hunters have arrived. The first of the North Star prepares to attack the demon king but will conscious forward and quickly kills the men as he bites down on the hunter's throat. The mighty foot sees this and begins transforming, growing a child leg the size of a school bus and kicks the monkey Pima, using him as force, knocking him backwards. The old man jumps in the air and stomps I would call, but the monkey king pierces right through the feet and kicks the hunter into the air, sending him right on top. The man tells the nannies to throw away the old men and begins throwing numerous sauce, or the demon is forced to escape into the air as the weapons continue to follow and attack wherever he goes. The demon takes out his weapon as well and begins knocking the sauce away, but the prince combines all the weapons into one and sends up flying towards the monkey. The attack was so powerful that abs breaking apart the demon stuff, but eventually hits a lot when the makes contact with the monkey and just shattered into pieces. Kurosaki attacks furiously, creating a shock wave to turn the demon hunters into dust. He turns to attention towards the monk, but surprisingly too jumps out and begins defending the men even after what he said to her, the woman, because attacking would call using her rings, but the weapons are shattered into pieces after hitting the demon king. She charges towards the monkey, but we can't easily stop her by striking her head and sends her flying backwards 10 cross towards the woman, and one whispers to him asking if he ever loved her. The monk began crying helplessly and warned that he always loved her ever since the first time they met. Hearing them as confession, I finally dies with tears in her eyes while Ten holds her and kisses her, taking her ring and putting it on his finger before the men can finish mourning. Will context the girl's body. A throws also in the air, blasting A into a million pieces. Suddenly the demon feels something wrong. All in retreat immediately, only to see that Ten has finally let go of her mortal attachments. The moat begins reading the book that were put together and chanting to the words inside, creating a massive Buddha that overlooks the entire planets. The giant statue begins pushing its pawn towards the planets, creating a massive shock wave as it enters the atmosphere, and lighting is then on fire because sisters and refuses to give up, gathering all his energy onto his body and quickly transforming into King Kong, towering over everything, was screaming furiously. The giant palm approaches closer and closer towards the demon and will contrast to lift the Buddha at the last moment, managed to stop the attack as the struggles under the immense weight. However, the demon is no match for the gas power and gas crush underneath the massive hand. What kind is brought into a different dimension where Turn has finally conquered the demon. He proceeds to take off once running, implants it onto the monkey's head, making the demon his new disciple. The monk's master tests the Amanda that he is now ready for the journey to the worst. He'll obtain the whole. The scriptures from India accompanied by the demons were now his students so that they may less the sufferings of humanity. So what do you guys think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like my video, please press like and subscribe for more. See you next time.